Welcome to a TLDR Cata Guide compilation for the Blackwing Descent. Magmaw. Magmaw is the first boss in Blackwing Descent and has two alternating phases. During the main phase, stack the raid on one side of the room with ranged further back. For healers, Magma Spit is random damage and Lava Spew is raid-wide ticking damage, so pop a healer CD if you need. For tanks, the boss chews on you for 30 seconds, so use externals or defensives to survive, and you get an armor reduction debuff when it ends. Pillar of Flame spawns fire under a random ranged player, so ranged group move out of it. It also spawns adds, but don't let them touch you or you'll spawn even more. Drop a Frost Trap while ranged kill them, or get a DK to slow and kite them while you passively cleave them. On Heroic, you also get Meteors that spawn a big add, so misdirect them to your off tank or have a third tank to pull them into melee and cleave them down. They leave fire on the ground and at low health they explode, so focus them down when they start casting. Massive Crash is a frontal on half the room, leaving the boss on the floor, so have 3 players click him to climb on top and use Launch Hook. Aim the target at the spike to stun the boss and gain a 100% damage amp, so pop some CDs, last it up and pump those meters. This also resets tank aggro, so melee be careful to not become red jelly. Then just repeat this cycle. On Heroic at 25% you now get Shadow Breath bombs, dealing splash damage, and this is a better time to last. Have the raid spread out with ranged DPS at the sides of the room and healers in the middle. Save some healer CDs as things get spicy while you finish off the boss. Omnitron defense system. This fight has 4 bosses with shared health and is a one-phase shitshow. When each boss is active, they drain energy, with the next boss activating when the current boss reaches 50, about 30 seconds. It then stops taking damage and shields itself, fucking up the raid if you keep attacking it, so you'll have to handcuff your mages. At 0 energy, about another 30 seconds, it deactivates, so you'll only have 2 bosses at a time, but with only 1 being damageable. So for any padding Andy's listing, this is a single target fight. Arcanotron drops buff runes on the floor, so stand in them for those giga passes. On Heroic, an empowered rune gives double the buff, but will explode, so try not to get carried away watching your meters. And Arcane Annihilator needs to be kicked. Electron zaps people nearby for healers to deal with, and Lightning Conductor makes someone deal splash damage, so move out if you get it. On Heroic, you can get Shadow Infusion at the same time, making you deal increased raid damage the further away you are. If you get infused, run back to the group, or have a priest grip you if you can't be asked, and then pop a healer CD. Magmatron casts Incineration security measure, raid-wide damage for healers to deal with, so pop a CD if you need to. And Acquire Target casts a flamethrower on someone, so if you get marked, move out to the side. On Heroic, the target gets rooted, so throw them a freedom and move out quick, or move away from them. Lastly, Toxitron spawns Poison Clouds under a random person, so move out of it ASAP. It makes anything inside take increased damage, so drag the bosses inside for a nice damage buff. On Heroic, they now also deal damage, and the entire raid will occasionally be pulled into the center of one, so use a speed buff to get out of it ASAP. He also spawns adds that fixate on random players, exploding and dropping slime pools if they reach them, so use slow and cleave them down. The hard part of the fight is dealing with overlapping mechanics, so certain combos of bosses will be harder. Save some CDs for when Magmatron and Electron are both active, as you'll have high raid-wide damage going out. Other combos aren't so bad, so keep rotating from boss to boss as they activate while you survive the mechanical shitshow. Chimaeron. Chimaeron has 2 alternating phases followed by a burn phase, with the less melee the better. In phase 1, the raid gets a cheat death that stops you dying if you're above 10k health, so healers should only heal to above 10k except for the off tank who needs to be topped. Everyone spreads 6 yards apart for Caustic Slime, heavy split damage on 3 players that lowers hit chance. It won't kill you while you have the cheat death, so you don't need to stack and give everyone wet noodles. Melee should spread around the boss with ranged around the room, so it only hits 1 player at a time. For tanks, Break is a tank hit with the damage taken increase and healing reduction, but this won't matter while you have the cheat death. But Double Strike makes his next melee hit twice, so have the off-tank taunt to take these hits. Just remember to taunt back so they don't get the debuff. After 3 slimes, he casts Massacre, a massive raid-wide hit leaving everyone with 1 health, unless you had under 10k, in which case you'll be inspecting the floor. After the 3rd Massacre, the raid loses the cheat death, so everyone needs to stack up ASAP, and pop your strongest AoE healer CDs to keep the raid alive through the Caustic Slime. During this phase, the boss won't melee the tanks, so don't worry about being eaten. And after 3 slimes, while your healers are shitting themselves, the buff returns and you can all spread out again. On Heroic, the slime now hits 5 people for more damage, but when you lose the buff, he still melees the tanks. Have a 3rd tank or a plate melee taunt the boss so the main tank can reset his debuff or he'll probably fucking die, and save some externals for the off tank taking Double Strike. At 20% he stops casting anything and you start the burn phase, where the raid takes 99% less healing and the boss can't be taunted. When he gets below 25%, pop Lust and heal the raid to full, then blast the shit out of the boss as hard as you can. The best time to phase is just after a Massacre cast goes out, so if you need to stop DPS, good luck convincing your raid. On Heroic, you now get additional raid-wide damage, reducing the time you have to kill him and making it even more important to top the raid before you phase. Then kill the boss before he munches his way through your entire raid. Atramedes. Atramedes has 2 alternating phases and is fairly simple. Everyone gets a bar that fills when you take damage, and if it fills completely, the boss kills you. Use the gongs around the room to reset everyone's bar, but you also need them to interrupt the boss. And on Heroic you only get 7, so only use them when you have to. During the ground phase, hold the boss in the middle with the raid stacked in ranged and melee, and you only need 1 tank, so take a 5th hunter. Sonar Pulse sends out a few rings to dodge so don't get hit. Modulation is heavy raid-wide damage, so pop a healer CD. Sonic Breath is a frontal that follows a random player, so have them move left while the raid dodges to the right. And Searing Flame is heavy channeled raid-wide damage that that increases over time, so interrupt this using a gong. Whoever's assigned should be ready to click before the cast starts, but healers be prepared to take a few ticks if the gong ringer has the reaction time of Microsoft Edge. On Heroic, you also get 2 ads that grab onto players, so everyone insta-swap and nuke them. After Searing Flame, the boss flies into the air and begins phase 2. Fireballs deal splash damage on random people, and sonar bombs leave rings on the floor, so move out of them ASAP. Spread out around the room, and ranged can keep attacking the boss, but focus on surviving first. It's easier to dodge everything if you're already moving, so keep moving between 2 spots to limit the damage. And melee can run around or dance or some shit. Just don't die. He also targets someone with Roaring Flame Breath, a beam of fire that follows you, getting faster over time and leaving fire on the floor. Kite it for as long as you can using dashes, sprints, and immunities, then someone ring the gong before it kills you. It then swaps to the gong ringer, so have them kite it until the boss lands. The phase lasts about 30 seconds, so don't ring it too early or you'll probably fucking die. You then restart phase 1, repeating until you run out of gongs and the boss kills you all. Maloriak. Maloriak has rotating sets of abilities, a bunch of ads, and a burn phase at the end. During the main phase, he rotates between red, blue, and green phases, each with new abilities. In every phase, he casts Arcane Storm, which needs to be interrupted. Remedy is a healing buff that can be dispelled or stolen for your healers to race your mages, and Release Aberration summons 3 ads from the walls, so have an off-tank pick them up and hold them at the back of the room. He casts 6 times per cycle for a total of 18 ads. They all have a buff that reduces damage taken, so hold them until you get to the green phase. And you can interrupt the cast, but when you go into phase 2, he summons any remaining ads, so only interrupt 1 cast every cycle. In the red phase, Scorching Blast is a frontal that needs to be soaked, so stack the raid, pop a healer CD, and in a shocking twist, face the boss towards the raid. And Consuming Flames is a dot on someone that ramps hard if you take extra damage, so move out of the group. In the blue phase, he casts Flash Freeze, freezing a random target and anyone within 10 yards, similar to Syndragosa, so have everyone spread out so you don't freeze too many people. The initial hit and when you break them both hurt, so healers spot heal the frozen players. And Biting Chill makes someone deal splash damage so you can always stay spread. After a red and blue phase, you now get a green phase, knocking you away and coating everything in slime. This removes the buff from the ads and makes everything take increased damage, so drag the boss into the ads, then cleave everything down with the debuff. On Heroic, you now get a dark phase at the start of each cycle. He spawns 5 slime ads that throw pools of shit everywhere, so the off-tank needs to pick them up and kite them around the room while everyone AoEs them down. Everyone watch your feet and interrupt the first ad cast from the boss so it doesn't become a shit show. The boss chain casts Engulfing Darkness on the main tank, a frontal that makes you unhealable. It lasts for 8 seconds and is cast every 10, so use the 2-second window to heal the tank so he doesn't fall over. Assign a few healers to watch the tank and rotate externals and defensives to reduce the damage as much as you can. Kill the slimes before the phase is over, then continue the fight as normal. At 25%, you start phase 2, spawning any remaining ads and no longer cycling through phases. He also spawns 2 big ads, but ignore them and focus the boss while the off-tank kites them. Try to face him after you've killed them all in the second green phase so you don't have too many ads. And don't touch the big ads or they'll fixate you and cut you in half. Magma Jets drops a line of fire on the tank, so face him into a wall, moving out of each cast. Acid Nova is a raid-wide dot, so pop a healer CD to keep everyone up. And Absolute Zero spawns frost orbs that move around and explode if they touch anyone, so move away. Pop Lost when you're about to phase and burn down the boss before you hit the enrage. Nefarian. Nefarian is the final boss of Blackwing Descent and has 3 phases. In phase 1 you get Onyxia and Nefarian, who both need to be tanked. They both have a frontal breath and tail swipe, so stand to the side, and tank them at opposite ends of the room or they'll crush you into the floor. If Onyxia reaches 100 energy, she wipes the raid, so you need to kill her before that happens. Electrical Discharge deals heavy damage to anyone standing on her side, so when she starts sparking, turn her so the raid is by her ass, because it's better to take the tail swipe than the cast. And the damage increases the more energy she has, so be quick to turn. Hail of Bones spawns ads that need to be kited, but they do kill themselves once their energy hits 0. If their body is hit with a frontal, they get rezzed, so kite them behind both bosses until they die. And this is the real definition of padding, so don't waste your DPS. They gain attack and movement speed over time, so use some CCs to save your tank. When Onyxia dies, the phase ends, so when she's around 10%, swap most of the raid to Nefarian to get him down as much as you can before you have to kill her. It's important to maximize DPS on Nefarian, just don't forget to kill Onyxia. Nefarian deals heavy raid-wide damage every 10% health, so assign a healer CD because it fucking hurts. And on Heroic, he mind controls 5 players, making them walk towards a portal that kills you if you reach it. Spam your stolen power for a nice buff, then break free just before you reach the portal, and healers can break out straight away as the buff isn't great for them. Once Onyxia is dead, the room fills with lava and you start phase 2. Split the raid between each of the 3 safety platforms and get out of the lava ASAP. Each one has an ad that chain casts raid-wide damage, so have kickers on each one so it never goes off. Shadowflame Barrage is damage on random targets for healers to deal with, and range can still damage him, so watch out if you trigger his electrocute. On Heroic, you now get Explosive Cinders, a dot with a knockback when it ends, so if you get it, fuck off into the lava so you don't blow everyone off the platform. After 3 minutes or once the ads are dead, the lava recedes, so jump back into the arena before the boss kills you for being a pussy. In phase 3, tank the boss on the opposite side to the ad pile with 1 tank on the boss and the other kiting the ads. He still casts his mind control, the frontal, and electrocute, so assign healer CDs for every 10% health. On Heroic, this deals a shitload of damage, so spreading out healer CDs, health pots, healthstones, and personals is crucial to keeping the raid alive, and damage reduction CDs will be your best bet. He also casts Shadowblaze Spark, a fireball towards the ads that spreads purple fire everywhere. If the fire touches the ads, they'll res and refill their energy, so keep them them away from it as much as you can. Rotate AoE CCs to keep the adds from destroying your tank while everyone works down the boss, and maybe have a third tank ready in case the ad tank falls over. Either pop Lust when the boss lands, or once your healers are out of CDs, then try to kill the boss before your healers are mashing buttons with bloody stumps. And that's it for Nefarian. Congrats on your clear. A nice challenge for your healing coordination to end the raid and join the waiting room for Firelands. Like and subscribe if you found these guides useful. I'll catch you in the next one.